Effects of land pollution. The land on which people live or work is essential for many reasons. It provides shelter to them from storms and other natural disasters, they grow food to eat off of it, they build their homes on it, so land pollution can have significant impacts on all these things if not taken care of properly. This article discusses some of the effects of land pollution on us and as well as what you can do about it. Effects of land pollution on human health. Land pollution is a significant cause of health issues in humans. The list includes lung cancer, heart disease, and asthma. Pollution from the air can penetrate deep into our lung soft tissues, causing irritation which triggers an immune response to attack it as if it were foreign bodies or germs. This has significant impacts on both respiratory functions but also cardiovascular functioning, where risk factors for stroke are increased due to inflammation-induced clotting that leads to blood clots within arteries, reducing their ability to supply oxygenated blood throughout your body, leading to strokes and other related events such as pulmonary embolisms, blood clots traveling through veins. Effects of land pollution. Effects of land pollution on ecosystem. Land pollution is a massive problem for the environment. It can disrupt ecosystems and cause them to crash, which in turn causes headaches like malnourishment and global warming because of lower oxygen levels. There are ways we should be preventing this from happening by reducing our dependence on non-renewable sources such as fossil fuels or eating locally grown food that doesn't have any chance of being contaminated with toxic chemicals used in other industries around it. But these methods aren't enough if populations keep growing exponentially year after year while resources stay stagnant at their current numbers. Effects of land pollution on animals. Animal land pollution effects include loss of habitat, difficulty breathing due to the toxins in air and water, deaths from eating toxic plants or drinking polluted water. Pollution from land can have many adverse effects on animals. For example, waste and chemicals in the water can lead to damage of internal organs, which results in death or weakness. It is also possible for some species like fish that live near coastlines to be harmed disproportionately by the pollution because they are most sensitive to changes within their environment due to being more exposed than other creatures. Effects of land pollution on plants. The pollution of lands has been shown to have a harmful effect on plants. There are many effects that can be caused, such as the reduction in chlorophyll production and photosynthesis, which leads to slower plant growth or death. Land contamination is harming our environment by destroying vegetation with its devastating side effects like reduced chloroplasts formation. The effects of land pollution on plants may be seen through the wilted leaves, holes in their petals, and loss of color. Plants are essential to human existence because they provide an essential component for our food chain while also maintaining a healthy environment necessary for survival. Effects of land pollution on aquatic life. Land pollution is a global issue that impacts aquatic life by polluting water sources. In the early 1900s, there was no legislation limiting land contamination, and it had been used as a means to dispose of garbage on farms in order to make it easier for crops such as hay or corn to grow because they could be grown without soil due to this disposal practice. This resulted in contaminated groundwater, which then seeped over time from agricultural fields towards bodies of surface waters like lakes and wetlands through cracks in the Earth's crust called karstic zones. As a result, these processes have contributed significantly with increasing numbers of harmful algal blooms, HAB, events worldwide that are found near freshwater ecosystems rich with algae where excessive growth occurs. Aquatic animals have been plagued by the fast-growing threat of water contamination from toxic chemicals and waste since time immemorial due to human carelessness. Land pollution is an issue that has long existed but whose fatal consequences were first recognized when marine biologists realized that coastal waters had become too polluted for fish and other sea creatures to survive as they did before man's industrialization came along. It now poses one of the most daunting threats facing ecosystems worldwide today because its terrifying ramifications encompass both air quality as well as waterways. Such high levels of smog will eventually suffer. Effects of land pollution on agriculture. Land pollution has a significant effect on agriculture. Agricultural land is fertilized with nitrogen-based fertilizer, and for crops to grow, they need an abundance of soil nutrients such as phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and sulfur. With the increased use in fossil fuels that produces pollutants like carbon dioxide, CO2, from burning coal or oil products, it's no wonder there are increases seen across agricultural studies which show less crop yield per acre due to increased CO2 levels. Plants absorb these atmospheric gases through their leaves, so if too much is absorbed they will not be able to produce enough chlorophyll needed for photosynthesis. This can lead them to be more vulnerable against attacks by pest insects which feed off away at all plant parts, including leaves but also roots. Effects of land pollution on climate change. Global warming is a significant concern in the field of environmental sciences. One area that has not been examined thoroughly enough is land pollution and its effects on climate change, which can have negative consequences for us all. Land pollution causes an increase in greenhouse gases like methane. This gas traps heat from escaping the Earth's atmosphere and creates global temperatures to rise higher than they would naturally without these emissions into our planet's air supply. The problem with this buildup of pollutants entering Earth's atmosphere at an accelerated rate stems primarily from agriculture practices such as animal farming, fossil fuel extraction, such as fracking, industrial production methods including chemical manufacturing plants or power generation utilities using coal or other fuels that release byproducts into the environment while generating their electricity. Effects of land pollution on global warming. People often do not think about how the condition of the Earth's surface could have an effect on climate change. However, it is a genuine possibility and one worth considering when examining environmental issues. For example, high levels of soil erosion due to improper farming practices or deforestation may cause more CO2 emissions through increased rates in decomposition, which would contribute to higher temperatures over time if left unchecked. Land pollutants are also important because they help heat up the air around them by trapping infrared radiation from escaping into space during daytime hours before releasing this energy at night. Something is known as the greenhouse gas theory. All these factors combined lead us down a path towards potential disasters for our planet, such as ozone. Effects of land pollution on economy. Did you know that land pollution is causing a decrease in the global economy? A study by the World Bank published last year found that environmental degradation costs about $4.6 trillion annually to world economies. This includes damage from natural disasters like droughts and wildfires, as well as things such as air quality issues or water shortages. Natural resources are being wasted, which can hurt tourism too because people may not want to visit places where there's trash on beaches or smoggy cities with buildings falling apart above them. We need more recycling programs for certain materials, so we don't have overuse of some types, like plastics, while having no access at all for other valuable items, such as metals. Effects of land pollution on ozone layer. The ozone layer shields the Earth from harmful radiation but has been thinning in recent decades due to chemical compounds released into the atmosphere. What does it mean for the ozone layer when we dump too many chemicals into our land? There are a lot of ways in which pollutants can seep up and out from where they're buried. But once these toxins get into the air, they'll sweep around more quickly than if there weren't any at all. So what's worse is that this creates an even worse environment to breathe and live in. Besides getting rid of toxic waste before it has time to accumulate on Earth, one way humans could help save themselves would be by following strict environmental regulations as soon as possible. Effects of land pollution on acid rain. The acid rain from the land pollution in China has been devastating for those who live there and making it difficult to grow crops. China is known as a country where many people still do not have access to clean water, let alone food or air that does not contain toxins. The toxic dirt on the ground poisons everything around it, including our rivers, lakes, oceans, and even us. Acid rain falls every day because of this problem, which can cause severe damage such as respiratory problems along with diseases like cancer due to long-term exposure through inhalation over time during high levels of production. Effects of land pollution on non-living things. The pollution that people put into the environment has been found to be detrimental and is beginning to affect mountains. This type of land pollution can lead not only to a mountain's beauty but also its ability for support. If this trend continues, then we could see more natural disasters happening in these areas because they would have less stability than before due to lack of nutrients from plants or animals, which allow vegetation and wildlife growth necessary for a healthy ecosystem on top of it all. Pollution has an effect on the world's rocks that scientists are just now starting to understand. Pollutants have a cumulative and long-term effect, with some lasting up to millennia. Rocks take in enough of them, for we humans can also be affected.